There are some books that I have read that made me decide, you know what, maybe trust issues are a good thing. Maybe you just shouldn't trust anybody. And yes, Light Lark, I'm looking at you. Let's start off with Light Lark, actually. This book gets so much hype. The premise around it sounds incredible. Yes, I want to read about an island that only comes around once every so many years and there's games and people are competing and there's love. That sounds great. So why did this miss? Like I said, the premise is amazing, so I was really disappointed when I kind of just felt like it could have been executed better. I also really didn't even like the two male main characters, which in a book like this is kind of crucial to at least like one of them. I found the book itself to be very confusing as well, and that is why I say I shouldn't trust a lot of people, because this book was pitched to me and a lot of the videos I saw about it as a no thoughts fantasy. You can kind of just pop in and out of, not really have to pay attention crazily. And even with me paying attention, I was so confused. I have never been more confused in a book in my life, actually. There were so many different types of groups of people. I didn't know who was from where, what was going on. And that's why it missed for me, because it honestly felt like a homework assignment where I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get out like a whole family tree graph and try to figure this shit out. I don't want to do that. Now we're gonna talk about The Housemaid, because here's the thing about The Housemaid. Did I rate this book 5 stars once upon a time? Yes, I did. Do I think it's a good book? Yes, I do. Have I recently read the book that this was inspired by? Yes. And that book was so much better that I now feel like a little, maybe I shouldn't have jumped immediately on this when people were hyping it up, and I should have read The Last Mrs. Parrish first. Because unfortunately for The Last Mrs. Parrish, I went into that already knowing everything about this book, so it kind of ruined the experience for me. For the sake of the author and the original story, I did give it a 5 star. For the fact that this was practically identical, it kind of makes me wish once upon a time I didn't give it 5 stars. That's coming from someone that loves Freida McFadden, but you're Freida McFadden, not Freida McCopyright, so I kind of have a bone to pick with this now and kind of give it a side eye every time I see it getting a lot of hype, knowing that there is an original out there that's a little better. Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. Here is the thing with this book. The female main character is a dumbass. And I hate reading about a dumbass. I'm a dumbass. Don't make me read about that. This is supposed to be escaping reality, not looking in the mirror. This female main character is literally how I would handle a situation like that. And like I said, I don't want to read about me. I want to read about literally anybody but me. And a lot of people that hype it up, I'm like, the female main character just got on my nerves. Like, how do you have to be to get pitched to live in this like great apartment building in New York, and then when you start living there, you realize like shit's weird. It's haunted. There's all these weird things going on. People are sketchy. Get out. Get out. You found out this place was weird on page like 30. Why are you still here on page 300? Then wonders why things don't go good. Well, I could have told you that was going to happen. Credence. I have a bone to pick with Credence. We're going to put all the taboo stuff aside, okay? Like, yes, taboo books aren't really my thing. Oh, I don't really want to read about you doing the nasty with your cousin. However, I'm not here to tell people what to read, what not to read. What I am here to say is the reason I have trust issues after reading this book is because who was gonna tell me that one of the male main characters is practically R-wording the female main character? Literally, practically their first introduction. That sets up a book horribly for me to ever root for the male main character in any type of way. I want you to go to jail. The male main characters in this book just made me extremely uncomfortable, and this is one of those books where I originally found out about it. I read this in like 2019. It was not pitched like that. It was very much pitched as an incredible book, absolutely amazing, 5-star read. And all I will say to that, I actually don't have anything to say to that. Now we need to talk about My Dark Romeo. This is the book of all books that makes me really think, what the fuck? Book Talk, Booktube, Bookstagram, what the book is so bad. I understand why some people say like, oh my god, the male main character is so hot. And it's because we as women want a man who spoils us and who loves our hobbies. And this man does do that. I think he literally makes her a whole home library at a point. He also refers to her as a conveyor belt of wormholes to park himself inside of. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't let a man refer to me as that just so I could have a home library. Like, I love books as much as the next girl, but if you call me that, The Drowning Woman is one of those books where I'm like, yeah, okay. This is one of the most anticlimactic thrillers I have read in my entire life. I buddy read this with my friend. She felt the exact same way, if not more passionate about that fact. And it just makes me so mad that this book gets on like best thrillers of all times list. I don't even think I'd put it in the top 100, and I don't even think I've read 100 thrillers. Bottom of the barrel thriller for me. It was just so, like I said, anticlimactic. And that pisses me off like none other. Like, if you're gonna write a thriller, thrill me. I have another huge bone to pick with The Girl Who Was Taken, another thriller that wasted my time because the ending of this book absolutely ruined it. And people hype up this book and made me go into it thinking this was going to be my new favorite thriller. What really gets me the most is the ending is literally saying that somebody died, but it doesn't even tell you who. And I know there are some people in this world who love to draw their own conclusion with the book. And if that is you, I honestly am jealous, because as soon as a book hits me with that figure it out on your own at the end, that shit's a 3-star or lower, because I'm not an author and I'm not figuring out anything. And the last one I'm going to put on here is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. It's a Hunger Games dupe. I don't personally think a book that is essentially a copy of another book, or heavily inspired to the point where it's very obvious they didn't really even think of much of it themselves, should be as hyped as it is. I'm not saying it can't be hyped, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be read. If you like this book and you enjoy this book, read it. I am not one to talk because, like I said, for years and years and years, The Housemaid was classified as one of my favorite books of all time, with me having not even read the original. I'll read what we want to read. But do I think, for this book specifically, this author deserves all the hype in the world? No. If she writes another book, or the other books in this series start to be a little more original, then yeah, I do think that everybody deserves to be hyped for a really good original book. But it was literally just The Hunger Games. It was too identical for me, and when I went into it kind of as an experiment. I was like, no way it's that identical. Oh, it's identical. And that is literally coming from somebody who hadn't even read Hunger Games prior to reading this. I had only watched the movies, and even that, when I read it, I was like, that is very similar. Then I went and read Hunger Games for the first time ever, and I was like, yeah, I'll just stick to Hunger Games. So I'm not writing this author off. Like, if she comes out with other books, I know she wrote this when she was pretty young. She comes out with other books, like, I'm not opposed to giving them a try, and I'm not opposed to hyping them up if they're amazing. But I don't think this should be included in every single best books of all time list, because even The Hunger Games isn't included in those lists anymore. Like, I feel like The Hunger Games, we all know it's great, but it is not included in like top 10 favorite videos of all time anymore, because it's an older book. But that doesn't mean this should take that spot, and I have a bone to pick with that.